Good morning, my little Sunday morning littles. I hope you're doing well this week. I hope you've had a great week. Um, we are going to continue on this week with our lessons on Joseph. We don't have a tremendous amount of lessons left on Joseph either. We're moving right along with him. Last week, we talked a little bit about how he had asked for his brothers to bring his youngest brother, Benjamin, down to the land of Egypt. And if you remember, Joseph recognizes his brothers. They do not recognize him, but he recognizes his brothers. And so they're kind of taken back by the fact that they're having to do so much and being accused of some things, and they really don't know what to do at times. They feel like they're being possibly punished or things are coming back on them for what they did to Joseph, but they don't realize that this ruler is really their brother Joseph. So he is asking them to bring his youngest brother Benjamin down to the land of Egypt. And as we left our lesson last week, we saw that that's what the brothers were doing. They brought Benjamin down, and Joseph had told them that that once they brought Benjamin down, that they would be able to get their brother Simon, who was there in captivity, back. Okay, so we're going to pick up with the story, Is Benjamin Really a Thief? So this is continuing on in Genesis from where we left off last week. All right? Okay, now we all know what a thief is. A thief is someone who steals something, who takes something that doesn't belong to them, right? So let's see what we can find out. It says, when Joseph sees his brothers coming with their youngest brother Benjamin, he says to his stewards, who are like servants, bring the men into the house and slaughter an animal and make ready for the men, or to dine with me at noon. So as Joseph saw them coming into Egypt, he wanted the stewards or the servants to fix a big feast. He wanted to eat with them, and he has given the stewards a time to have the food ready. He wants to eat with them at noon. So there is a big picture here of a feast, and this just kind of reminds us of what a feast really is. He wants to dine and dine with his brothers. So let's see what the stewards do. It says, when Joseph's brothers saw the stewards coming their way, they began to get very scared. Now, why, first of all, do you think that they would get scared when they see stewards coming their way? If you remember, the money for their grain the first time, of course, was put back in their sacks. And they were very worried that these stewards were coming after them because they felt that they had been dishonest and had taken something that wasn't theirs. So they were really worried. When they went to the steward and they said, "Oh, my Lord, we come down the first time to buy grain, and we returned to our lodging place and opened our sacks, and we found each one's money in the top of our sack." And as you see, Joseph's brothers are trying to give that money back. They're trying to explain what has happened, that they had no idea that they had that money. And you see the steward putting up his hands. He's saying no. The steward replied, "Rest assured, I received your money. That must just have been a treasure." So the steward is not taking their money back. He's not taking that money back from them. He's telling them, "Oh, rest assured, your grain was paid for. You must have just received a treasure." So, yes, the brothers from their standpoint are trying to do what they think is honest and good, but the steward is not taking that money back. Oh, my. It says, let's start down here with this one. It says, all of the brothers sat and dined in the royal hall with Joseph. They were given great portions of food. However, Benjamin, the youngest, was given the most. Now, when you think about dining with royalty, Joseph sat here and his brothers sat at this table, this long table back here. Each one of them was given a significant portion from the meal, but Benjamin, the youngest, was given the most. The Bible says he was given 5 times more than what his brothers were given. So he was given a lot of food at this feast. After the feast, the stewards were ordered to fill the men's sacks with grain, as much as they could carry, and to put each man's money in the top of their sacks. Now, remember, they tried to pay for this grain the last time, and the money was put back into their sacks. Now they're trying to pay double, but the money's being put back again. It's being put back again. Now stop and think. Yes, Joseph knows that this is his brothers. And despite what they did to him when he was younger, he's still giving their money back. He's still supplying for them. Let's see what happens. However, in Benjamin's sack, the stewards were ordered to put something else with the money. Joseph ordered them to put his silver drinking cup into the sack along with Benjamin's money. I wonder why. Now this is a silver drinking cup, and royalty in back in Bible times in Egypt, they drank from silver cups. And if you can think back, way back in these stories, there was a cupbearer in Pharaoh's court, or the party of people that worked for Pharaoh. He was a cupbearer, and he was in the prison because he had wronged what the Pharaoh thought he had done was wrong, and so he put him in prison. But you know, that cupbearer was very, very important. He was very important because that's who Joseph was wanting to remember him to the Pharaoh to possibly get him out of prison at one point in time. So now we're seeing a cup appear in this story. In this part of the lesson, we're seeing a cup appear because cups back then in royalty, it was like a big thing to have a really fancy cup if you were of royalty like this. So Benjamin, being the youngest, the stewards were ordered to put a silver cup into his sack. Now I wonder why he would want that done. When the men left to return to their father Jacob in their homeland, Joseph told his stewards to follow them and overtake them. When the stewards caught up with the brothers, they were to unload their sacks and check each one of them. When they did this, they found the silver cup in Benjamin's sack. Was he really a thief? Oh no. What do you think is going to happen next? Benjamin, he's not a thief. He didn't ask for that cup. You know, he didn't even ask to have to come down to Egypt. He's just doing it because that was what Joseph had ordered for them to do in order to get food. So Benjamin's really done nothing wrong, right? Oh my. You will have to tune in next week to see Benjamin's fate. What will happen to him? He's the youngest son, and Jacob will be overtaken with grief again. Now you remember, when Jacob agreed to let Benjamin come down, he told all of his other sons, I'm very bereaved. Remember that word bereaved? It meant that you were just overtaken with grief, that you were so sorrowful because from the start of everything, he thought he had lost his son Joseph. He thought he had lost him to a wild animal, if you remember that. And now he has a son, Simon, who's was in captivity there in Egypt. And Benjamin, the youngest son, had to go down in order to bring Simon back. So Joseph is kind of in control of the whole situation, And a part of me wants to think that he wanted to try to teach his brothers a lesson. But then another part of me wonders, if I were in his place, could I keep quiet and play along with this little game? Or would I be so mad and so aggravated at them that I would want to lash out at them the minute I saw them and fuss at them and argue with them because they had sold me? And then another part of me wonders, would I just miss my family so much that I couldn't contain myself, and I would want to tell my brothers who I was, and I would want to be able to see my father, Jacob. And I think that Joseph truly wants to see his father. I'm sure he loved them all. But can you imagine wanting to see your father, wanting to see your family? And so I think this is the way, well, I don't think, but I know that this is the way that God led him to handle this, in order for him to be reunited with his family. Now, we've gone through several lessons, but back at the very beginning of this story, if you remember, we talked about Joseph's dream and how he had those dreams that things would bow down to him. And that is what is happening to him in this story. His brothers are literally having to bow down to whatever he says. So really, his dream is coming true here in this. It is. Now, Joseph's been on a big roller coaster his whole life, and it seems like something bad has happened, and then something good happened, and he would end up being in charge of something, right? Then something bad would happen again, and then he would still end up, it would be something good would happen, and he would be in charge. So he is kind of in charge of the selling of this grain and all this. But the person who has been ultimately in charge of everything that happened to Joseph was God. And he's proving that through these stories and the story of Joseph's life. Now, when you tune in next week, you're going to find out Benjamin's fate. You're going to find out if he gets in trouble for something that he didn't even do. You're going to find that out. And you're also going to find out what happens to Jacob, the elderly father. Is he going to be overtaken with grief? Is he ever going to be able to be happy because it seems like his sons are being taken away from him? That would be very hard for me if I were Jacob. It would. And I think deep down in Joseph's heart, he just wants to know if his father is okay. I think he just wants to see his father. And I think he's really thought about the ways to get to do that and still keep his family alive by making sure that they're fed during this famine. Okay? Now, we will probably more than likely finish up Joseph next week. And when we finish it up, we're going to do our best to apply what we've learned with Joseph to our own lives and see if there's ever been a time that we have acted somewhat like Joseph, or we have had things happen in our life that appear to be a lot like what happened in Joseph's. Okay? All right, littles. I've really enjoyed talking about this subject and Joseph and his life with you guys, and I'm really excited to try to finish it up. So I hope that you tune in next week. Now, I haven't said this in a while, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I do miss you terribly, and I do wish we were back in our building for Sunday school. But until that time, I'm going to pray that you stay safe, and that you stay healthy, and that you stay happy. And some of you maybe actually are going to get to go back into your classroom at school too pretty soon. So I'm going to pray for your school, that you're happy and that you're healthy and that you're safe there. I'm going to pray for all your teachers and all the people around you at that school. And I would appreciate, littles, if you pray for me, because I'm in a school every day, and just like today was just a little bit of a rough day at school for me. So it's nice to know that I can ask littles just like you to pray for me that things get better and things aren't so rough and tough sometimes on those days. I would really appreciate that. I would. I love you, Bunch Littles, and I will see you soon.